All right, so today's market update. So I just want to start off the market update by saying, I've sent out a bunch of different trade alerts in the past couple of days. I changed one section of the last trade alert on Ethereum. Basically, it's on Zcash, so I'll just go right into this. Um, I closed out my Zcash position at a 5% loss. Um, Reasons for it. I was going to let it ride and be patient. I was a little bit late on the breakout. Generally speaking, my preferred entry on a breakout is as soon as we start to break the descending trend line, because that way it usually gives me buffer. But because I was late to the party and I kind of knew, had a feeling this was going to happen when I did it, I bought up here thinking that maybe this will get enough momentum and maybe it was still early enough if we broke out of the all-time highs, but we pulled back. And so because I bought later to the party, which I hate doing, but I did it anyways. So that you can't help that when you're doing a breakout, right? Sometimes, I mean, there's a breakout here or there's an all-time high breakout. Obviously, all-time high breakout could go. I thought I was going to hit an all-time high breakout. So I thought I was kind of getting in early on an all-time high breakout, but of course, Bitcoin's been going up. So Zcash has been pulling back. Because my entry was a little bit late to the party, I'm just cutting. I'm being ruthless. I'm just cutting it at 5%. That doesn't mean I don't think Zcash could still go up or this and that. What it does mean is that I don't have the tolerance to take a 20% hit on this if we pull all the way back, right? I'm not interested in that. So I'm just going to go for a 5% hit right now. And, it could just be that I sold at 5%, it's going to bounce and break out or whatever, right? And if it does that, then maybe I'll re-explore another breakout entry point if that happens. And it looks like we're starting to get momentum. But, a lot of the volume on Zcash was on our initial breakout that we had. We had this really nice breakout right here. And then we start to get a lot of volume. This was nice because it was like a very early reversal pattern. So this was definitely a nice breakout. I felt it was early. We broke this descending bear channel, this and that. We made a higher low. So for me, this breakout was all right. And then prior resistance turned support. And then we got a lot of momentum. And then it took profit on a double. I sold everything on a double. Kind of messed around a little bit in the chop. Kind of like what I'm doing now. I hate choppy markets. I had a breakout trade when we broke this initial descending trend line, and it did go up higher, but it got really choppy. I guess one of the reasons why I am shorter stops, tighter stops, and shorter targets for bigger markets is, for example, Zcash, the price of Zcash right now is is it $100? It's $106. It's $107, right? Much higher risk. I think it still has a 300% inflation annually right now, right? Still got huge inflation. Miners could just be selling into this. For that reason, I'm not being as patient with something like Zcash for that reason. And it's sometimes you lose patience and it turns into a big mega bull rally. But the trading's non-linear. I could reserve the right to buy back in if we do finally break out with set targets. But again, smaller targets with Zcash. Targets as going for is generally just doubles, even if it did break out. I mean, if it popped up here, that would still likely be a double. Maybe more. So basically for the reason of large supply, stuff like that, or very small supply and large inflation. For that reason, shorter targets. Uh, Same with Ethereum. I feel like Ethereum breakout trading right now is like a hot potato. You know, I mean, you gotta look at some of these things in perspective, right? Like, yes, bull runs can go a lot longer than most people anticipate, and so on and so forth. And I absolutely. It could it go up even higher? Yes, it can. Could it break out even higher? Can it make another wave up? Yep, it absolutely can. But you also need to put things in perspective. This bloody market is up 600% BTC wise, probably up more dollar wise. Okay, so you start taking, you could take the breakout trades if you want at these higher levels, but you have to realize that you are playing hot potato into greater fool theory, right? Eventually, the higher it goes, eventually you'll go to catch a breakout and it'll be a top, right? That's what happens when you play hot potato. So when the price is up so much, so not all breakouts are equal. Breakout here, obviously, much better risk to reward than a breakout much higher, right? So this is already 10x dollar wise, right? This is already 10x. Does that mean it's not going to go up higher? It could go on its trajectory to $100, right? I wouldn't be surprised to see Ethereum at $100. That said, knowing that, I'm being just tighter with my targets. And if that means I have to take multiple trades in and out on different breakouts with tighter targets, and that's fine. Will I necessarily get the most? I mean, honestly, I could have got the most out of the market had I not taken profit at all and just held all of it. But, hindsight's 2020, right? We saw that there was early reversals on everything, but did anybody know that Ethereum was going to just 10x again, right? Or higher? Did anybody truly know that, right? So no, I would say that likely most people underestimated how high this could go. So yes, I could have just held and whatever and be a nice profit. But you know what? There's nothing wrong with locking in profit along the way, as long as you're not going all out, so the first and maybe, okay, so I did start to scale out here and then, close out the rest and I scaled out some more as we're testing the resistance. So I was scaling out at resistance points and then scaled out as we, shot up here. And then I had a little breakout trade in the room that I pointed out on this descending trend line. And just a tighter target. I didn't nail this whole move. Just sold it like that. Messed around a little bit in here because there was a breakout here. And then the most recent breakout for 20%. So all in all, I mean, trading Ethereum has been very, very profitable in all this. But, trading is not perfect, right? It's not clean. Sometimes it's a little bit messy. I mean, unless you nail exact bottoms and exact tops. Well, my entries, I would say my entries on Ethereum were fairly good. I mean, this is this initial breakout was definitely one of the best entries, and we even had a 22% bounce play. I sent a trade alert out right on that capitulation candle, added on the dip, added on the breakout, the early breakout. So good entries and scaling in. Scaling out. So that was the easy part. The easy part is like, hey, look, reversal pattern. Just buy, right? Scaling out though, a little bit trickier. So this initial exit here, I probably shouldn't have done that. This was a little too early, right? I was thinking, I was trying to be cute with the markets, thinking I could buy a pullback or whatever, which we didn't get. It just broke out. Selling on resistance at the all-time highs. Much better target. Still a little too early, but a better target nonetheless. This target I was happy with, right? This is a good target. You know, didn't nail the top, but it was good. I got it in the 4s. And then, you know, couple smaller trades. And so I'll just I'm gonna share a link for anyone who can't see. It's kind of a bit of a messy chart, but okay, so that's Ethereum, right? Anyway, so I just squeezed another 20, whatever it was. Was it 22 or 26%? I think it's 26%. Anyway, so I squeezed another 26%. So I can't complain, really. I mean, I'm lamenting over. It's more, I guess, my greed. I could have made more money had I'd held, not scaled out incrementally. But the thing is that, like I said many times, there's no silver bullet formula, right? You could say, nah, I'm gonna let this one ride, and then it turns out it tops out at resistance, and then you'll be like, oh, I should have taken some profit. It dropped back. So, you know, the fact of the matter is you don't know, right? Nobody knows. Nobody has any clue how. Oh yeah, and Ian's pointing out something, and this is actually a very good point, and I forgot about this point. He's saying you also reinvested profits and multiplied that too. That's exactly it. You're absolutely correct. When I did sell a bunch of Ethereum Classic, Ethereum, my bad, Ethereum, I actually took a bunch of that money and loaded up with a lot of that profit on that 14 level breakout. Some of it, anyways. I still had some ETH on the table, but basically my rationale at the time was I wanted to sell something that was up really, really high for something that was really, really cheap, right? So this was like 316, and so that 316 play was selling up on this candle right here. Which one is it? Selling around this candle right here. That's okay. That's the one. Oh, that's what I did on this one right here. When I took profit, when I closed my second close on Ethereum, that's all that profit I threw immediately into Ethereum Classic right here. That's what I did. And so that was all on Poloniex. It's also because I needed to free up some quick capital too. I had some ETH sitting on Poloniex. I flipped it. So let me just back test. Now I'm curious, just for fun. So just based on that, what I closed out, the price of Ethereum, had I not touched it, had gone up 77% from that area to the top, right? Whereas Ethereum Classic, from that breakout point when I immediately flipped that into Ethereum Classic, has gone up 230% if I measure it all the way to top 270. So I guess in essence that strategy was successful, and in essence I did end up making more money by closing out Ethereum and selling and buying into something that was cheaper. And then I also did the exact same thing with because I had some Ether sitting on Bitfinex, and I sold some Ether on Bitfinex for cash up here, and then I took that cash and I loaded up on Ethereum. I needed to pull my money out of Bitfinex because it was acting, they were just being a little bit, it was being a little bit sketchy. So I wanted out. So instead of just buying like premium high Bitcoin, I took all of that and I converted it into Ethereum Classic around here before the breakout point, and that pretty much, I messed around a little bit with this trade as well. Had closed it, bought back in, kind of messed around a little bit, trading some chop here. But overall, my cost basis, I believe, was still fairly low at that point. So I took that Ethereum and, or that dollars, those dollars, my bad, because I closed Ethereum, had dollars, bought ETC, and then rode this wave up. And that was basically just replacing some of what I'd sold when we broke down below this ascending trend line. There's a couple of interesting little plays here. So, I was looking at this immediate trend line, closed on the trend line. In the room, we had some different trades, then there was then there was another breakout. So I was just doing little trades along the way, playing this. Then we had this other breakout. So just catching breakouts on the smaller time frames, on the hourly. So, bought back in. And I think that one I didn't end up selling up here. I think it was more like up here. I didn't catch this full move. And then anyways, I bought back in over here and whatever. So I it's possible I actually made more money. I'll have to look at some of the I'll have to look at some of that software tracking stuff that tracks the trades and calculates it in dollars for me. Very, very useful tool. Because when you're trading so many crypto markets and you're trading in and out of different markets with, I'm out of Ethereum, I'm into dollars, I take the dollars, I'm into classic, or I take the, lots of juggling. It's very easy to lose track of the juggling unless you have automated software. And all I know, it's Cointracting, great software. And all I know, at the end of this whirlwind of crazy trading, what I just do personally is, I'll have like a couple of weeks of crazy trading or a month or whatever. And then every couple of weeks, I just tally up like, okay, how many Bitcoins do I have now? And what's the price of Bitcoin? And I've just been watching the dollar amount of the portfolio growing as well as the Bitcoins growing. So that's basically all I know after all this whirlwind of trading. It can get a little chaotic sometimes in all these juggling all these different markets. So the most important thing is that you end up with more Bitcoin and that the price of Bitcoin is going up or nice and high, so that it's a double whammy. You close out some profits, price of Bitcoin goes up, win-win. This hit that target beautifully. So I sent out I guess you could say a FOMO trade alert. Not FOMO as in FOMO of like buying, but FOMO as in like gotta send out a trade alert and sell this before this thing dumps, right? Because so sold around this area. I actually had a sell order at the 55 area, and it just fell shy of 55. So I had to close it, and then I market sold and then sent out a trade alert and this and that, and the rest is history. So then we had a pullback, seller stepped in. Maybe that was us. Who knows? Self-fulfilling prophecy. I don't know. But when you're up 350%, not a bad idea to lock in a little bit of profits. So I took out 20%, around maybe a little over, maybe 22-ish. And that took out most of my risk capital. Right? That took out most of my risk capital. So I'm good. I'm happy. I stuck with my, and it really said, this is called selling into strength. Like this wasn't dumping when I sold. It started to dump after I sold, but this is selling into strength. Okay. Which is like, you see the big the big green vertical on the 1D, and you kind of have to go against your nature, because when you see the big green vertical, the eyes go big with dollar signs and you think, oh man, I was going to take profit here. Everybody gets tempted with this, even including myself. But habit and experience will train you to do otherwise, to go against what your mind's trying to tell you to do, right? So it takes experience and some discipline to know better. But the mind says, hey, Rocky, I know that you wanted to take profit at close out, start scaling out profit at 55. But what if this 1D green candle goes a lot bigger? What if it shoots up and goes parabolic and hits the sevens area? Or, what if you're cutting yourself too short and blah, 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 because it's when you're on the bleeding edge, just like the bleeding edge of a dump, right? You have to go against your nature. This is like the opposite. You see bleeding edge, big green candle, and you start to, and it looks, if you just look at what's right in front of you, it actually looks really, really bullish. It looks like, man, this thing can really, really pop off, right? You have to be disciplined and fight that and be like, no, if I sell now, there's probably a high probability that I'm going to be early bird, right? Early bird gets the worm, and actually get a better price for locking in profit. And, and then I'll look back and I'll either get rewarded and it'll pull back and I'll feel like a mad genius, or it'll break out further and I'll lament and shed salty tears about coulda, shoulda, woulda, like I did with Ethereum just now, until I realized that I actually made more money by flipping it into something cheaper. Actually, no, I could have just bought it with Bitcoin, and that probably would have been the most profitable, actually, when you think about it. Anyways, all that to say, trading is a psychological game, right? Trading is a psychological game. And the same goes for the inverse. You see a big, deep red candle, like what we saw with Bitcoin before, like, oh, Mo, it's all dumping, blah, 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 and you look at what's right in front of you, looks really bad, but you should probably buy a dip because that's where the most money is made. So what I suspect could happen right now is we hit that target. Something that we were talking about. Chris also mentioned that target as well. So what I suspect will happen is one of two things. Either we pull back, and this is a correction before an immediate other leg up, or we get some more consolidation like we've seen in this area right here. Maybe it starts to get a little choppy. Maybe it creates another triangle pattern, maybe a bull pennant, something like that. So let's see. I'm going to be patient with the rest of my holdings for now. Obviously, it's subject to change depending. Obviously, if this starts breaking down and looking like that was the top and not just a local top, then obviously I'll share a link. I'm on Ethereum Classic right now. Obviously, one has to adapt to that, right? To that situation. But I'm happy, right? I'm happy I took out my risk capital. It's a very, very profitable trade. It was my biggest, most recent biggest trade, biggest altcoin position, loaded the boat. Slowly, as I've been scaling out profit along the way, slowly Bitcoin is creeping up to be over half of my portfolio. And obviously Bitcoin's my largest position. Now, whether or not that's wise or not is another story. I mean, if, altcoins, there's a lot of new money in these markets. Okay. I'll tell you the reason being is, the new money breaks old rules. And I tweeted about this, right? So the old rules are Bitcoin breaks all-time highs, altcoins panic dump, they all hit a reversal, everything's deep in the red, full of blood, and if you're bag holding altcoins, then you're a fool, right? That's the old way, or not that you're a fool, but you're not maximizing your profit potential, right? Now, there's a difference between everything topping out and hitting reversals on altcoins, like we saw Let me just give you an example with, let's say, Factum. There's a huge difference between that and then people just knee-jerk reaction. You should really just buy the dip, right? So, here's an example of, topping out, right? And I bet you this is correlated with Bitcoin breaking out, right? So this is a good example of like, you probably shouldn't buy any dips on this. And I'm very, very, because it's all very toppy, I'm not very keen on just buying dips right now with altcoins. Unless it's like big, deep red candle bounce play. So this is an example of, Bitcoin is breaking out and you should probably get the heck out of the market, right? And sell or take some profit or whatever. And, we have some other, some other stuff where that happened right here. Remember, it popped up, Bitcoin broke out, everything panicked, sold, lots of blood, blah, blah, blah. So we didn't automatically start getting deep blood and lots of, lots of blood and all that kind of stuff. But new money breaks old rules. So new money doesn't necessarily know, like I said, they don't necessarily have that memo like, hey, Bitcoin goes up, breaks all-time highs. You should panic sell and get the heck out of altcoins, right? Take profit or whatever. If you're smart, you'll already have your profit targets and you'll sell into strength before the red. Just like I sold into strength on Ethereum Classic before the red. Still riding some, of course. The volume is serious on Classic. I've got a reason to ride it. Buy support is still good. Volume is still high. By no means am I saying this is the top. But I will tell you that I don't know if it's the top. It might be the top. And if so, then I just took profit at the top and then have to reassess maybe some of the rest. But, it's obviously a local top. But, volume is serious. It just bumped up to number 6 market cap. I think it was at 5, or was it? And then it dropped. I don't know. Anyways, volume is 110 million. That's some serious volume for an altcoin. It's solid number 2. Buy supports over 3,000 BTC. I think, honestly, perfect world scenario, I think Ethereum Classic should be right here at number 3. Right below Ethereum. It should be like Bitcoin, Ethereum Classic. Boom. Ripple can... well, let's see. Ripple's been very inversely correlated with Bitcoin, so it's interesting that it's not panic dumping big time. Volume is still good. Volume is best I've seen on Ripple in a long time. So you could tell. Just look at the buy support. Look at the volume. There's new money in these markets that wasn't here before, right? How do I know that? Because prior to the Bitcoin ETF stuff and all that great advertisement Bitcoin got that probably attracted a lot of new money, several months ago, we were grinding it. When we were hitting these early reversals or whatever, we were grinding it. The markets were stale. There wasn't any movement happening on Poloniex. There's no volume. It was just the same traders playing tug of war with each other, dumping every time Bitcoin went up a dollar, like, so... the fact that everything's been going up, Bitcoin's broke new all-time highs yesterday and today. Ethereum Classic did the same. Ethereum did the same. Everything's been moving up. Obviously, new money breaks old rules, right? They're buying everything, right? But like I said, I believe we're in a bubble. I believe we're in an altcoin crypto bubble. I don't know how long it can last for. I have no idea. Maybe it lasts for a few weeks, few months, who knows, maybe it goes for a few years. I'm skeptical if it lasts a year or something like that. I'm leaning towards tops maybe a few months. For altcoins anyways, I think Bitcoin might be a different story because the bull trend is still looking healthy and sustainable. It hasn't gone parabolic yet. So just looking at Bitcoin on that note, So I don't know. We have yet to see what happens with altcoins, right? If they're going to top out, there is a very real possibility that some of these could top out, because like Bitstamp, look at this. Bitstamp just broke 1400, and people, you know what they say: bull rallies are born in skepticism, right? So what I haven't been doing is I haven't been trying to call tops on Bitcoin. I tried one. I tried calling one top, local top. I probed the market with a short, and you could go back on the trade alert and see just how quickly I closed that. I think maybe moved 1% and I closed it. And I was like, you know what? I think I'm just going to get the heck out of Bitcoin's way. I don't think I'm going to mess around and try to, call tops or anything like that along the way. I've just learned with Bitcoin not to do that. And I also decided, I said, you know what? It's not worth it for me to margin trade Bitcoin right now. Right? Because I'll tell you something, you will, if you are really bullish on Bitcoin, okay, I'm going to tweet this. If you're really bullish on Bitcoin, you will perform way better for your Bitcoin portfolio and holdings, trading altcoins and locking in profit into Bitcoin than you will margin longing, for 20 or 30% moves or whatever. You could do both, right? Obviously you could do both. And I usually do both. I usually have no qualms with margin trading Bitcoin, longing or whatever. And we've got this breakout, but I will just say this. We are breaking all-time highs. The risks are a lot higher on margin at these high prices. The scaling debate fundamentals still aren't solved. What this tells me on a fundamental level is that there is a lot of new money, maybe in different parts of the world, that don't hang out on Reddit, right? Like one thing we forget is that, Reddit is just a small portion of the Bitcoin community. And I'll just share a link there for anyone who's trying to see what the heck I'm talking about with Bitcoin as far as like potential targets. So I think that if Bitcoin gains some momentum, if it really starts to go on a tear, we could see a lot more blood in altcoins, because people were very skeptical because you couldn't withdraw USD from Bitfinex. So people were calling it fake rally, fake rally, it's all led by Bitfinex, blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay. So it's like, I don't know how to respond to that. I see the possibility of that, but this is Bitcoin. This is Bitcoin, and Bitcoin doesn't care about that stuff. And obviously Bitcoin doesn't really care about the scaling debate right now either. And I would dare say that I bet you a lot of the new money coming in from different parts of the world, maybe from Japan, maybe from India, maybe from Venezuela, Nigeria, whatever, they might really not be hanging out on Reddit and getting involved in our little nerdy crypto melodramas, right? They might not know who's who in the zoo. For them, Bitcoin might be like, hey, this is better than my local currency. I'm going to buy some of this because my local currency is being devalued with hyperinflation. I don't care about block size or scaling. I'm just going to buy some of this and hold, right? Don't underestimate the amount of new users who come into the space who casually buy a Bitcoin or two and just forget about it. I personally know people like that in my life. I know people like that in my life from 2015 who I got to buy some $200 Bitcoins at. And, they pay attention casually, but they don't sell it. They don't trade it. They just bought it low. And they're like, I'm just going to hold this forever and see what happens. Right? And I bet you there's a lot of, Lorenzo's saying that he's from Venezuela, and that's exactly what happens in his country. Right? So, yeah, I bet you that's what happens, And Dan's saying, I know at least 4 people at work that buy just for fun, at least a few. And these people are probably not hardcore crypto nerds. They're probably not even on Reddit, hanging out, watching the block size drama and all this stuff. So you just get it's just numbers, folks. You get enough people, enough regular Mon Pa users, just regular folks who are curious, who just want to have some, who maybe buy, just a couple of Bitcoins casually. That's low risk for them. Just a couple of, just a couple casually, even at these higher prices. Yeah, it's at 1,400, but they're like, whatever, I'll hold it for 5 years or whatever. Could go up, could go down. Maybe they're just playing with money they can afford to lose, so they don't really care that much. And then they forget about it. And so don't underestimate how many millions of people could have done that already, which pulls supply off the markets, which means that we're trading with less supply. And means that the price just slowly creeps up higher and higher and higher just based on an increase in user adoption. I think the numbers speak for themselves. There's new money in these markets that wasn't here 6 months ago. Okay, so someone's saying, wow, Zeke, dip buy. Did I dodge a bullet on that one or what? I mean, I don't know. What's Zcash doing? Okay. Well, there you go. Now I don't feel so bad for taking a 5% hit. Now I actually wouldn't be adverse. That's some good timing, huh? Whoa. Woo. Someone man, okay, one sec. I might buy some on this dip now that there's a better entry. 1 second. Just pause this video. Okay, I'm probing for a little dip buy here on Zcash. And you know what? I might just sell it on a bounce play. We'll see. This might just be a day trade for me. See if I feel inclined to hold it. Obviously, if it dumps more, then I'll cut it. I'll cut it at another 5 if we break this trend line. Good thing I talked about that early in this video. Get that on record. So much juggling in the crypto market. See how quickly things could change? All right, so here's a good lesson and sometimes why it's a good idea to cut your losses short, right? Like I said in the Zcash hard forking. What? 1 sec. Okay, maybe there's some fundamentals here. Do you have a link for that? I wasn't aware of a hard fork. Okay, 1 sec. Let me just look at this link. Okay, so this is just someone asking about. This is someone just asking about possibility of hard forking. So I don't think they've actually hard forked. This is just someone posting on Reddit asking, like, why wouldn't the miners just hard fork and cut out the miner rewards? So that's what I'm seeing in this. Okay. And yeah, I think there's Z Classic for that, right? So if we get it, let's say we just get, let me just do some live, let's say if I were to treat this as a day trade, okay? If we get a live bounce, then if I were to treat this like a day trade, so I bought pretty close to the bottom. I didn't wait for the candle to bounce. I just, if it were to come up to the 61.8%, then I will make 20% off of that. If it comes up to this area, I'll make 15% off of that. and deduct a 5% hit that I took closing out, that'll be between 10 and 15% trade if I treat that as an immediate day trade bounce trade. I guess I would consider that kind of like a scalp. Alternatively, it's a much better entry down here. If I were to hold it for potential breakout or whatever, it's a much lower or better entry. So I'm going to assess that. I'm not sure if I'm going to hold this as a day trade or if I'm going to hold it as a swing trade. I'll need to assess the market and how it behaves. Either way, you know, I like buying dips, so bouncy, bouncy. All right, thank you. Thank you for giving me a heads up on that. There you go. There's some live crypto juggling for you. Cut out 5%, buy a dip, see if I can turn lemons into lemonade. All right, moving on. And this is knee-jerk reaction. Bitcoin's just going on a tear right now, so I think alts are starting to get a little panicky right now. But I just want to go back to... Yeah, alts are getting a little bit panicky. Ethereum Classic is selling off as well. And that's okay for now. If it turns out that this looks like a reversal, like if we start showing signs of reversal, then I'll probably close out some more profit. But I'm just going to let it ride from now. Like I said, my risk capital is gone. And let me just play out, worst case scenario. Okay, so here's a worst case scenario. Worst case scenario is this. And actually, the worst case isn't really that worst case. Worst case scenario is chop and it doing a whole lot of nothing, right? That's the worst case because you can't really trade chop. But what some people would think would be the worst case scenario, let's just pretend Ethereum Classic has a big mega dump. Let's just pretend, right? It has a mega dump. Like, oh man, I could have closed all my profit, blah, blah. Well, guess what? I closed out a bunch of profit. I'll take that profit. I'll buy the dip on the mega dump. And then when it bounces, not only will I sell that for even more profit, but then I'll take some more Ethereum Classic off of cold storage and I'll sell on a bounce play. Not only the dip buy for that immediate trade, but take more profit off of the table for a bounce play, because obviously a big dump like that would spell potential reversal right there. So that's how I would treat that. So I just let the market do its thing, right? I'm just going to, and I'll just share this in case it's a little bit messy here, but I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I've trained my brain for certain habits. I see something dumping and sometimes that might be cause to, like, if I didn't take profit off of the table already, then maybe that would be cause for me to want to take some profit off of the table. But I sold into strength. So here's a perfect example of why you should sell into strength, or not sell everything, but scale out. And I would just turn on to lemonade. So, really at this point, if it's dumping, I'm like, okay, well, let's see. It's either going to bounce here and it's going to create a consolidation pattern, at which point I'm glad that I didn't go all out or whatever, because that'll be bullish. Or if it dumps big time, I'll take that profit, buy the dip, and scale out some more of my other holdings, and boom, right? Lemons into lemonade, turn it into profit, and that bounce play will have made up for any profit I'd miss if I had sold out more position. But the reason why I scale out incrementally is because nobody knows how high it can go, right? Nobody knows. Just like Ethereum, right? If I'd gone all out on my first Ethereum scaling out, then I wouldn't have been able to squeeze out as much as I could on making like a 350% off of the last position that I'd closed out. Last major position on the early swing trade. But there's obviously some evidence here that sellers have stepped in, right? Yeah, like if Ethereum, okay, so Roman's asking, I'm a bit confused, you're going to buy more ETC on a dump? Yes. if Ethereum Classic dumps really, really hard, right? If it dumps really, really hard, then yes, I will buy the dip for a bounce play, for a very quantified and specific trade with a specific target just for the bounce play. It could even turn into a day trade, right? Let's look at GNT. That's another one I start selling into strength on. I sent out that trailer. I sold 50% of my original position because I thought to myself, man, I'm up so much. I'm up like 700% or whatever. I was like, if I hold and I don't sell and take any profit off of the table, then I'm just being greedy and the markets deserve to punish me, right? Like I deserve to be punished from the markets, right? That's the way I see it. Sometimes when you're too greedy, you get nothing, right? Well, I wouldn't say nothing. That's maybe a little bit extreme, but you get less being too greedy, right? And I was kind of greedy that I anyways. So I took some profit. I kept 50% long term, right? Long term. I didn't go all out, right? Took a middle path. Just that 50% because in the room, and thanks to Andre for basically we're in a session and he asked me about what I thought about Golem, and so I decided to buy some. We bought some live in the room. If I can't be satisfied with 700% returns on a trade and I can't take some profit off of the table, then like what? I'm just being too greedy, right? What the heck am I doing? Right? So this is the inverse of buying the dip, right? This is like, oh, it's so green, it's so bullish, take some off the table. And again, I had to fight my own, yeah, but it can go up higher. Be like, no, Rocky, you set a target, right? You should stick to that target on principle and not get persuaded by emotions that aren't going to help you. Right? So basically the target was, and the fib extension is lined up beautifully, some confluence because we had already hit up here. It's like right around here, right? This is the target. Oh, this is going to be a nice one. Oh, yeah, Bitcoin's going to yeah, it can't go broke from taking profit, right? And you know what? It's dumping right now. And do I have regrets with not selling all my Golem? No, absolutely not. Because I want some as a long-term investment, right? I don't really want to be all out. Because maybe if I went all out up here, then be like, oh, well, Rocky, you're a fool. It broke out and went even higher, did another 10x. This was Ethereum 2.0 and you sold at 700%. You could have made 7,000. You never know, right? Nobody knows. So sometimes the best approach is to take the middle path, right? Although this is a pretty good target, and I would say that my timing on both taking profit on Golem and Ethereum Classic were very, very well timed, in my opinion. Obviously, the markets are dumping, so this kind of makes me curious. So this is a really, really big dump. So I might end up buying a bounce play here on this, especially if we get... How much should this dump? Let me just take a peek. Be patient here. Let me just measure from the last move up. It's at 61.8% on the last move up. If it were to do that classic prior resistance turn support, maybe around this area, maybe I'm being too greedy with my target. Maybe the bounce plays don't work out at all. Maybe they just bleed out big time because of Bitcoin's move up. But we're starting to see altcoins getting a little bit scared. And so you know what? We just play that game. We might get another round of reaccumulation. This is a chart Chris just posted in the room. Let's see. Yeah, okay, so this was a chart that Chris had posted last week, I believe, right? With his targets for a breakout trade. Yeah, he did a breakout trade. So again, beautiful targets, right on the nose, you know. Nice, definitely very nice play there. So yeah, that's why it's good to have targets, right? It keeps you disciplined as a trader, right? Because it's not profit until you take something off the table, right? You can, and this is what I was saying, you know, I'm going off on a bit of a tangent, but this is what I was saying in my market report. As I said, you know, the altcoin bubble is going to pop at some point and it's going to cause a world of pain for many, many people, right? Unless you know what you're doing, right? Unless you're taking profit, because guess what? Paper gains, they can disappear, right? Oh, I'm up 500, 700%. I'm up 1,000%. I'm so rich. Boom. And then in a couple of days, you lose 50% of that. Gone. Boom. It happens that fast, as you can see right now. Yesterday, everything was so bullish. Oh, we're mooning. Everything's going to the moon. Now there's blood everywhere. Right? But could just be short-term blood, though, right? Doesn't necessarily mean the tops are in. This could just be like, okay, we have a big panic washout. Maybe we get some reaccumulation, then it pushes up, makes another leg up. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Makes me curious about things like Ripple, though. Things that I would want to short. Oh. Oh, man, this one's passing. Okay, a little bit late on the short on that. It's a little bit late for me. It broke down. There would have been 2 good short entries on that. I think the best for me, in my opinion, now it's too late. I can't do it. My opinion, I would have wanted to short either, you know, up in the resistance zone. This is, you know, perfect world scenario. Oh, yeah, Ripple. If you're in Ripple, you might want to take some profit on that. Because Ripple is definitely inversely correlated. Breakdown right here. So either short there or on the breakdown. So if I miss a short, my next best play is wait for a bounce play. Wait till there's mega blood. And then someone's lolling at Zcash, so now I'm curious. All right, this is really really dumping. And again, you don't know where the top or bottom is going to be, but I'm curious how Ethereum's holding up. Let's just take a peek at Ethereum. And, you know, if this trend line breaks or whatnot, then, you know, I'll cut out. And if we get even bigger blood, then I'll probe again. It's if it really, really, really bleeds, it's really not going to be a matter of if it bounces. It's just going to be a matter of when it bounces. But let me look at Ethereum here. This has me curious. I was just looking at, oh, wow. All right, so again, good thing I sold my ETH bags, 22%, 26%. Just like I said, hot potato, folks. Hot potato, everything's up so high. You want to catch these breakouts and so on and so forth. It's hot potato, shorter targets. Okay, so again, perfect timing. Perfect timing on closing out my ETH. Now it's got me curious on my other altcoin bags. Let me just see here. Let me just take a peek. You know, I've got a lot of stuff into some mid caps too, so might not see too much blood on that. Oh yeah, big drop. Okay, drop on Classic, drop on Golem. We talked about that. Edgeless, 9%. Stratus minus 6%. Economy minus 17.16%. I took all my risk capital out of that. So I was no coin. I just cut that crap. I mean, it's just garbage. Okay, Ethereum's dumping. Dogecoin's down 22%. UBQ is down 7.4. Databits is down 17. Lot of panicking on the altcoins here. Time is already so low. I've got bags of time that it's not doing anything. Rise is up 7.3%. I'm up. Wow, actually turns out I'm up 77.7% on Rise right now. Go figure. And that was kind of like a one of my, I felt, not so great picks. I mean but it was low. It was low, so it was cheap. That's the important part. Anyways. Interesting. Well, there's going to be some nice bounce play opportunities here, folks. So, stay tuned. Might have jumped the gun a little bit on Zcash, but let's see if I can get an immediate bounce play. I'm not going to hold it as a swing. I'm going to actually set a sell order on the books right now and see if I can just scalp a trade out of this one. Like I said this morning, 300% inflation rate, miners dumping, small coin supply, $100 coins. I'm just so, it makes me cringe to pay $100 for a new coin. It absolutely makes me cringe. The thought of it just violates every instinct in me as a seasoned trader, you know? I mean, I'll trade anything that moves and I'll catch the breakout plays regardless of the price points and stuff. But like I said, higher the price, the shorter my targets and the smaller my position size, right? Like I caught that breakout trade on Ethereum. I made 26% or whatever it was. And I didn't load the boat. I didn't go in, I'm going to put everything I've got into this, you know? Like, no. Yeah, actually, you know, that's a good point. Let me just look, because I could load up on some cheap GNT now that I sold some. How far is it going to go? Okay, one sec. Let's look at some other markets that I'm in. UBQ is still, I mean, this is a really low cap, right? It's a mid cap. So far, I don't really see a reason just yet. I think it could still make a third wave up. Like I'm seeing a lot of similarity here between. I mean, this isn't a perfect triangle formation, but you can kind of see similarities. Maybe not. Maybe let's see. Anyways, not perfect, not a clean market, it's not super liquid, but the whole point being that, you know, it made two waves up. It's still a lowish, mid-cap coin. So it could have some more growth potential. We could make a higher wave. And it could also just dump. So obviously, like if support here breaks through here, then I'd probably... And I did take profit off of the table. I don't have my full original position size on UBQ. I'd probably flirt with the idea of reducing or cutting out, locking in some more profit if we broke this. But if this stays up, it's fine. It doesn't appear to be making much of a move. Edgeless. This is kind of... And, the reason why these mid caps aren't bleeding so hard is because they're I mean, this is up a bunch. I'm up a bunch of profit on that, but they're mid cap. They're not top cap coins. So the top cap coins are bleeding the hardest right now because they've got the most value to lose. So Edgeless obviously is being dumping. I'm not selling. I'm still holding it. It could come back lower, I mean, if this dumps even more, assuming nothing's wrong with the fundamentals, I might actually just load up on a bigger position size. So I'm okay with that. I'm not in a rush. I mean, I bought in the 5s. I was early bird. I sent out a trade alert. Yeah, could have popped off a double. But it's a small cap coin, right? I don't really go for doubles on smaller cap coins, mid cap coins. Higher cap, like I did a double on Zcash, I did a double on ICN. Higher cap, right? Yeah, it could. Yeah, I would probably buy a dip at 11.55 on GNT, and yeah, even. You'll get some bounces along the way too, right? You'll get some bounces. Exactly. So this is why I love bounce plays. And even like, here's the thing. I just want to show you something. Like even when you get a top, that's not even a local top, just a hard top. Like let's just look at a Factom top, for example. This is kind of on my shorting list. I wouldn't be surprised if Factom hit a top. So here's an example, okay? So this is a hard top, right? This is not local. This is like, all right, this is the top, right? Massive dump. I mean, look at this. This is the daily, right? This is the daily. So massive dump, lots of blood, and then it bounces, and then it sinks more. So usually it'll bounce on the first red candle. I'll just share a link. Usually there'll be a bounce on the first red candle. I mean, there's multiple bounces here. You could really break this down. I mean, look at this. There's a lot we're not seeing here. Okay, so there's this initial red right here, and then that bounced, and then there was more red, and then that bounced, and then it really bounced, and then did like a double top formation right here, really topped out, and just that was the top. It just bled, and then there comes a point where you probably don't want to be trying to catch dips. I mean, even on the way down, I mean, any one of these big, deep red candles would produce a bounce if you bought low enough. So let's say you just cut. Let's say you had a later entry and you got in here. You could squeeze out, 20, 30% day trades off of these bounces. If you get in low enough, and just what I do when I catch a bounce plan on altcoin, I just buy and I immediately stack a sell order on the book and where I want to sell, and I just let the market do its thing. And then if it bounces and buys into my sell order, then I make a quick, usually I'll be modest and I'll go for like a quick 30%, just for fun. Like Zcash is kind of bouncing a little bit right now, so I might see if I can squeeze like 20% or something out of that. Let's see. Although GNT. Oh yeah, GNT just had a nice bounce. That would have been good. Anyways, I love the bounce plays. You don't have to wait for them to bounce or the wick. I buy them on the bleeding edge if the red candle's big enough. And sometimes I end up buying the exact bottom for doing that. But I usually just set sell targets and get out of it, right? See, like Golem is bouncing, but I'm not in a rush to just buy back into Golem right now. So I did buy some Zcash just to recoup my 5% loss and see if I can make some lemonade today. Okay, any markets? Anything you guys want to look at? We're going at over an hour. Probably Zcash will probably just be a day trade. I don't think I'm gonna hold it. Oh yes, there's that Lunar ICO that just completed. Oof, big ugly candle. I would maybe buy some if it dropped below ICO price. I'm not gonna buy any now because it's still early. See if it bleeds out. Sell target for Zcash. Let's see. Yeah, we're getting that bounce. There you go, folks. Live bounce played by right in the room. Even had to take an intermission to buy it. Okay, let's go back to this. I did have a target. Look at that. Nice little hammer candle there. Targets. Maybe I'll be modest. I'll go for like the 50. So let's say it comes up to 7. Let's just call it 7. Let's see if it can bounce. This thing can bounce up to 7. I think I bought it like right around here. I didn't get the exact bottom, but so if it goes up to 7, it's not a huge trade. I mean, it's kind of peanuts really, but I get my 5% that I lost back, and then I get an extra, 12% on top of that if it goes to 7. So let's give it a shot. Nice. Yeah, look at that wick. See, this is why I don't wait for the wicks. Right? I just look at the candle, and if it's, you don't want to jump the gun and buy too high where it's still kind of toppy, where you've got like but when you see something that's just massively, especially if it hits a trend line, I love buying red candles when it touches a trend line. It doesn't have to be exact. It could be an approximation, but I just love doing that. Even if I'm on the bleeding edge, I'll just go ahead and do that, and whatever. And then if it breaks the trend line, then maybe I cut out, and if it bleeds really hard, then I probe for another dip buy, right? I've had I've probed multiple times before on dip buys till I nail a bottom, and then it really bounces. The bigger the dump, the bigger the bounce, right? Okay. There's only one giant altcoin actually green right now, and that's pink. Oh god, that's funny. Okay, so we've gone over an hour, so I think that's it for now. Just talking about some bounce plays. You know what kind of opportunities I like to trade. So if you see some deep blood everywhere, then maybe depending on if it's a liquid coin. If it's in a liquid coin like pink, if you see deep red blood on pink coin, then I would maybe stay the heck out of that. Because, you know, no buy support and stuff. It can go south. You know, you don't want to try to buy a dip on a pump and dump. And if I were to look at pink, someone's mentioning pink, I bet you it's kind of pump and dump-ish. I don't know. Just assuming, but last time it was. Yeah, that kind of looks like a bit of a... Probably no buy support either. All right. That's it. That's it for now, folks.